Hi, my name is Mila.
And I'm Mari, and this is
Chew on That! Chew on That is an educational talk show that looks at a different BIPOC culture and their favorite dishes each episode. But what are we looking at today?
Today we'll be looking at the Philippines. So in typical Chew on That fashion, you already know we got a fun fact prepared for all y'all. So the first fun fact is that there are over 120 different indigenous groups that reside in the Philippines. And not only that, the staple foods in the Philippines are rice, coconut, shrimp, lemongrass, soy sauce, and fish sauce. So that's a little bit on the food side of things. Let's hear a little bit about background, Mila.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm ready to serve it up. But as Mari mentioned, shrimp is a large part of the diet because being made up of over 7,000 islands, seafood is a huge staple for them in their dishes. But there's also a lot of different cultural influences from other countries that can be seen throughout the history of the Philippines. For example, in the 11th century, Chinese merchants brought over cooking techniques such as stir-frying or steaming. In the 16th century, Spanish colonization brought in different ingredients like cheese and paprika. And then in the late 1800s, the US colonized the archipelago. So there's a lot of history behind all the dishes and ingredients you see in Filipino cuisine.
Nice. Well, not nice about the colonization part, but nice about the food influences. But to talk more about Filipino culture, we have a guest today and we'll be bringing them in. So let's bring in our guest. So we have our guest, Monica, here today. Woo! Thanks for coming. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Monica, and I am a Filipino American. My mother is Filipino, and her whole family comes from the Philippines.
So what does culture mean to you? And just like, how is it like being like a Filipino American? Like, what's like tradition to you and like stuff like that?
Yeah, so definitely like as like I'm biracial, I'm mixed white with Asian, and so having a culture, obviously I like cling to it, and it's very much like how I relate to my mom and how I relate to like my whole family and just like how we kind of celebrate when we come together. So to me, culture is just about like honoring your family and just like kind of keeping alive the traditions that my family had to leave behind in order to like, you know, build a new life for our whole family here. So I think that for me, culture is just honoring that and like honoring their struggle and celebrating what they left behind and bringing it with like this new kind of place like that we live in now. So I think that's really dope, and that's something I try to center in my life and like honoring and celebrating like where I come from and like what my family comes from. So yeah.
Oh, that's so nice, yeah, being able to hold on to those traditions that you mentioned and keep it alive, because I feel like a lot of times like BIPOC are forced to assimilate in a way, so yeah, holding that close to you is something special.
Especially just like when like your family has like come from like another country and like coming here to like give you a better future, and then being like holding that close and like close to your heart, because it's like remembering that and like remembering like what they gave up to be here for you, which is really cool.
When I think about like Filipino culture, definitely like one of the big kind of traditions I remember from my childhood is the lechon, and sometimes it's called Lechon Kawali. And so basically what it is, this giant pig. It's a full pig that we have at parties. And so when you know like the pig is there, that's how you know it's a party. So like there's all the kids running around, there's a little kid sleeping in someone's room, like the aunties are gossiping, and there's a ginormous pig. And so that's one of the things I remember. And I also really like the clothes. And like, of course, like as you get older, you start to get like, you know, the older clothes. And so some of the clothes that I would wear from like my lola, which is like your grandmother in Tagalog, for their anniversary, we wore these like shawls that kind of emulate the traditional Filipiniana dress, which is basically just the dress with these really, really big shoulders. And so getting to wear those was like super fun. So it's definitely a lot of like little things that I can piece together from my childhood and like hang out with my family and going to the parties and stuff like that. So yeah, those are some of the things that I remember.
That's so nice, yeah, like having a party, everyone coming together too to celebrate something so fun like the giant pig, I'm imagining. Or yeah, like all wearing like traditional clothing too. It's very like a uniting sort of thing.
And like all just like passed down and like being able to like, bro, I just like love like just like having those little events.
Yeah.
And just like coming together. It's really cool.
So for the first dish, we're going to be looking at sinigang, but do you want to tell us a little bit about what's in it?
Yeah, so sinigang is like this meat-based stew, and it's what's like makes it like stand out is that it's very sour, and it's used with tamarind to make it real sour. And sometimes families will use calamansi, which is this little citrus fruit in the Philippines that a lot of Filipinos use just to make it really sour. Every family does it differently, but most often you'll find like bok choy. The meat is usually pork, as well as like string beans and like onion and tomato. That's kind of the basic stuff, but my family makes it without tomatoes because my mom can't eat them. Very sad. We make it with potatoes because my sister loves potatoes. We also put green beans. We put the bok choy, the pork, and my mom also includes shrimp because my sisters are vegetarians. So there's a lot of different like accommodations my mom does for the whole family, and then of course everybody makes it a different way.
That sounds so fun. Yeah, like putting in the potatoes, sort of like customizing it to your own sort of like preferences.
Yeah. How often do y'all eat it? I'm like, is it like a special type of dish, or do you guys just like kind of eat it like whenever?
Yeah, it's definitely casual. It's not like the lechon, like you're not roasting a pig every weekend to eat for breakfast. But yeah, it's definitely like one of the more casual foods. When I go home, I'm like, Mom, please make me sinigang. Like that's the one thing I ask for my mom.
Yeah.
Do you eat it like hot or cold mostly?
Yeah, you definitely eat it hot. It's like one of like, you know, hot soup, and you always eat it with rice as well. Like some people do it differently. I've recently adopted the rice on the side and you eat like as you go, but when I was a kid, I would just dump all the rice in the soup and let it all absorb. So yeah, it's definitely different. You always gotta have the rice on the side.
No, I used to work in a Thai restaurant. I definitely do like the dump the rice in and just kind of eat it as I go. But yeah, that sounds so fun. I can't wait to try it. But a little fun fact about sinigang is that even though it's an indigenous dish to the Philippines, there's a lot of similarities between it and like other sour soups in Southeast Asian cuisine, such as like the Thai tom yum or the Indian sayurasem. So yeah, a lot of connections with sour soup being made. Yeah, do you have a little fun fact for us, Mari?
You already know I love that.
I don't even have to ask. I'm just stalling.
You don't even have to ask. But yes, the fun fact for this dish is that it's considered a familiar dish, like you were saying. And each household has a different version of it. So it's nice to hear that y'all's has a little less tomato, more potato mix in it. Sounds pretty good. I'm really excited to try.
Yeah, same. We'll see how the restaurant does it. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so let's get to chewing.
All right, everyone, welcome to the mukbang portion. And first, we're gonna start off with the sinigang, which is the tamarind meat stew.
I'm excited to try because I don't really think I've had much sour soups, if I want to be honest with y'all. So let's try the broth first. Oh, that's really sour.
Mari was also very surprised when tasting how sour it was, and I thought, can't be that sour, but it's sourer than I thought it would be.
Right. Very much homey, very much the sour is there. Very good broth. Already on a good track.
I did not expect that. It's very like lemony, like a lemony type of sour, like a lime. I thought, yeah, no, it makes me feel like they just crushed a lime in here. But it's not bad. It's actually really good. Like I would eat this.
I've had like Thai tom yum before, so it reminds me of that a little bit regarding the sourness.
All right, we'll try the meat.
Ooh. So let's try the meat part of it. Maybe like one of the little greens in it. I wonder what kind of greens these are, because it's kind of nice. Let's try.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The pork is very squishy, very soft, easy to pull. Very nice. I would eat this. This is really good. I'm a big fan. Shout out to Monica. Really bomb.
All around, really good flavors. I mean, you can't go wrong with this stew. And it's so nice having like greens in here too. I don't know if you can tell, but like these.
10 out of 10 so far. Very, very good. Very much tastes like my mother's stew. So I'm feeling good.
So our second dish we'll be talking about is pork adobo. So Monica, will you tell us a little bit about how to prepare it?
Yeah, so adobo is very much like a staple in Filipino cuisine. Like if you've had Filipino food before, most likely it was adobo. And so I think most typically it is chicken, but I also really love pork, and that's what we're gonna have today. And it's made with like soy sauce, vinegar, garlic, and you always have like bay leaves in it, kind of floating around, and you always eat it with a side of rice.
That sounds so good. Yeah, tell us more about, do you eat like a bite of the pork and then a bite of rice, or kind of put it together, or how do you do it?
I like to just put all the rice on the plate, go to the adobo pot, get the meat, and drown it in the sauce. And you just put all the sauce on there, mix it all up. That's how I like to eat it.
Can't go wrong.
Yes, I'm salivating the thought of that. Making me angry, making me a little hungry. Yeah, no, I've never had adobo before, or like, cause I'm Venezuelan, and we typically have like carne adobo or something similar, or like adobo like powder, and so it like makes me think of that. But like thinking of Spanish, adobo comes from the Spanish word adobar, which means to marinate. And before the Spaniards came and colonized the Philippines, they typically used salt and vinegar to marinate it, but then after Spanish colonization, they began using garlic and onions, and then from the Chinese influence, they also used soy sauce. So it's a little background towards the food part. But Mila, speaking of variety, what do you have to say towards that?
Yeah, of course. I also have a little fun fact. Did you know that even with all the variety that Mari mentioned, adobo is still considered the national dish of the Philippines, even with all these like differences with ingredients people may use or flavor preferences. So we only choose all stars here on Chew on That. So I'm excited to get eating.
Yeah, let's get to chewing.
Next, we're gonna try the pork adobo. We got pork, not chicken, but you can get chicken.
This is kind of tough. I thought it'd be shredded, like, cause like in a bunch of like Latino, like Hispanic households, we'd have like an adobo or like asada or like that type of stuff. And it's like shredded typically, or like cut. So I was not expecting it to be like this, but I'm still excited to try.
Ooh, I love when pork does that. I don't know if you could see it, but it just kind of like slid right in half when I put my fork through it. I love when it's like a creamy texture.
This one is definitely sweet. They might use brown sugar for this one. I know some folks use brown sugar in their adobo. Very good, very different than the one that I'm used to.
Very flavorful.
That's really good. I might be biased because I'm a big pork fan, but very flavorful. I could tell it was like seasoned really well too. And there's like some juices you can't see on my plate, but there's like a lot of juice from it too. So I could definitely see myself eating this with like a side of rice too. But really flavorful meat overall.
Monica was saying it was pretty sweet, but I don't really taste the sweetness. I get more of like a savory type feel. I feel like maybe more salty in the normal world. I'm not sure, but I still really like it. This is really good. But yeah.
Very yummy, I approve. Again, 10 out of 10. We're on a very good track.
So for our third dish, we're going to be talking about Lechon Kawali, but do you want to run us through that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, there's lechon, which is the big pig. This is a little different, like just lechon, you would not just have that on like a Thursday evening with your family, but lechon kawali you definitely could. It's just like the deep fried pork belly, so it's like definitely a smaller part of the meat. And yeah, you just kind of eat it with rice. You could eat it with sauce if you want to. A lot more low key than the whole pig.
Yeah, for sure. I love pork belly, but I've never had this, so I'm pretty excited to try it. See how it goes with like the deep frying, like a crispy, then like the creamy kind of pork belly. I'm excited.
I'm excited to try too. I'm like, I've never really had anything like that. I'm like, honestly, I'm really excited because I'm like, I've never really had much Filipino food. I'm exposing my little stuff out here, but it's the truth, and I'm like, oh, so thankful to like have you out here talking about it. Yeah, but you were talking about lechon and how it's typically like the bigger part of it rather than like the kawali, which is like the smaller pieces of it, and lechon, the bigger like pig is actually from colonial times, which is crazy to think about, and is also brought by Spaniards. Do you know anything else about Kawali?
I do. My little fun fact. It's a little small, but good. It's short and sweet, we'll say. But did you know that the word Kawali is actually Tagalog for the word like frying pan or wok? So that makes sense, being deep fried pork belly, it will mean like frying pan essentially. So yeah, let's get eating.
All right, last but not least, we're gonna do the Lechon Kawali, which is the deep fried pork belly. I don't eat this one as often, so we'll see.
Okay, let's see. It's with the adobo, so it has like the little sauce that goes with it. So from what Monica said, it's pretty flavorful. So let's take a little bite.
As you can hear, very chewy.
This is really good.
Sorry that took me so long to chew.
Very flavorful. We put it with the adobo sauce, so definitely has some of that in there.
I don't know if you could tell, but it was very crispy on the outside. I really loved the different texture. While the adobo was more creamy, this Lechon Kawali, it had that sort of outer layer of crisp and then the soft sort of silky inside of the pork. So that was really good too.
This is like, I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. It kind of tastes like fried chicken, low-key. Like fried chicken if it was like cut in just like in slices. Like I wouldn't have thought that this is pork belly, if I'm being honest. But it's really, really good. Like I would eat this too. This is really, wow.
A nice delicacy, a nice treat. 10 out of 10 for this one as well. All 10 out of 10. That was super, super good.
Everything was super tasty. I would definitely see myself ordering some of these dishes and eating. And if you didn't know, we got all of this food from J&J Turo Turo, which is on the Red Line, but they're actually closing in June. So you should go while you still can and order all of these foods and a side of rice because they were all delicious and you shouldn't miss out on it.
So now you guys tried the food. What do you think?
I thought it was really good. I've never had Filipino food before, but actually now that I'm remembering, I've had like the dessert that's like with the ube and like it's like a liquidy type. I don't know what it's called.
Hala hala?
Yes, yes, I had it once. It was really good.
Nice.
So it was nice to actually get some entrees in the mix. Really, really liked it. I also didn't know the sinigang would be really sour. Like when y'all said sour, I didn't know it was like sour. Like it tastes like a lemon was like like squished, freshly squeezed. Yes, like freshly squeezed lemon. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of pork in general, and like creamy pork belly is one of my favorite things to eat. So yeah, getting to try all the different like entrees, like pork in different ways too. Like they had such different flavor profiles, which is so nice. Yeah, but I love them all. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, like honestly, I felt very like homesick, very like, oh, it was really warming my heart. Like I don't have lechon that often, but of course adobo and sinigang are definitely the staples of my house. It was definitely a little different. Like the adobo was a lot sweeter than I'm usually used to, and they had tomatoes in the sinigang, which is pretty typical, but we don't do that in my house. But it's pretty dope. It added a different type of like flavor to it, and it was nice and sour, just exactly how I like it. It was, my heart is very warm, and it was so good.
No, we're glad that we got to share that with you. Also, with the adobo, I did not get the sweetness. I'm like, what does it taste like normally?
It's more like soy sauce heavy normally. That's how my family makes it, at least.
I see that. I can picture that. Yeah, like with the soy sauce like coating or something, like soaking it. Yeah. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Chew on That, and make sure to check out our last episode, which we'll be filming and released very shortly. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye everyone.
Bye.